The twin suns of Zirath 9 beat down on the golden desert. Sandstorms were common on this planet, but today's storm was different. It roared with a strange force, as if something deeper was moving beneath it. The wind howled like a creature crying for blood. Sira, a young blue-skinned alien explorer, ran through the storm with her cloak wrapped tightly around her body. Her breathing was sharp, her eyes wide. She had been alone for 3 days, her team lost in the last wind strike. She didn't even know if they were alive anymore. But she had one goal now: survive. Suddenly, her boot slipped. She tumbled down a sandy slope and landed hard. As she coughed and pushed herself up, her hand hit something hard beneath the sand. Metal. Not natural. Not alien. Something old. She brushed the sand away and found a small round door buried beneath the dunes. Strange symbols, worn but still glowing, were etched on its frame. Her heart pounded. "This isn't Varnari tech," she whispered. And then it opened. A quiet hiss of air escaped as the door creaked open. Warm light spilled out. Sira didn't hesitate. The storm behind her was death. Whatever was inside was at least shelter. She crawled inside and sealed the door. Inside, the silence was unreal. No wind, no sand, just a cool, dim hallway made of smooth gray walls. Lights flickered on as she stepped forward. It felt abandoned, but the systems were still running. That meant power, and power meant someone left this behind. She kept walking until she reached a chamber. It looked like a living space. Broken furniture, dusty screens, old food packs with strange writing. Then she froze. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, behind her. She spun around, weapon drawn. From the shadows, a figure stepped into the light. Not tall, not blue, not like her people. He had rough skin, short hair, and eyes that looked like fire, and storms had lived in them for years. Human, a real one. Her mouth opened in shock. Impossible. Humans had vanished from the galaxy over 100 years ago. They were extinct. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. But here he was, alive, breathing, and staring back at her with the same shock in his eyes. "You're not from here," he said in a low, rusty voice. "You're not supposed to exist," she replied. They stood frozen for a long moment. Then he lowered his weapon, not out of trust but out of exhaustion. "If you came with the storm, you're not my enemy," he said. "Why are you here?" she asked. He looked away. "Because my people were betrayed." Sira sat on the cold floor, her mind racing. This man, this human, was proof that the galaxy's biggest lie was true. Humans weren't gone. They were hiding. And this one had something in his eyes. Something ancient. Something dangerous. "I'm Sira of the Varnari," she said. "Name's Dax," he replied. "Dax Hale, last of my squad." She looked around. "You've been living here?" "Long enough to stop caring." There was pain in his voice, a weight he carried like a shadow. Sira knew she had found more than shelter. She had found a mystery buried beneath time. Suddenly, lights flashed red, an alarm began to pulse through the room. Dax stood fast. "They followed you," he growled. "Who?" she asked. "The ones who hunted my kind, the ones who destroyed everything." He grabbed a metal staff from the wall, his armor activated with a soft hum. A holographic map lit up on the console. "You led them straight to me." "I didn't know," Sira said. "Doesn't matter," he replied. "You want answers? Help me survive the next hour." The alarm kept flashing red. Sira followed Dax down a narrow hallway as metal doors slid shut behind them. "Who's coming?" she asked again. "Drones," Dax answered. "Built by the same species that wiped my unit out. They can smell heat, life, movement, and they don't stop." His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp, watching every corner. Sira's heart pounded. She had seen battle before, But this was different. She had just discovered a living human, and now he was being hunted. And because of her, so was she. I didn't know anyone lived in this region, she whispered. That's the point, Dax said. They entered a dark control room. Old human tech blinked with blue lights. A thick, holographic map hovered above a rusted metal table. Dax tapped on it. Several red dots blinked toward their location. They'll be here in minutes. Can't we run? Sira asked. Out there? He pointed to the sandstorm still roaring, beyond the shelter's dome. You wouldn't make it 3 steps. He grabbed a long black rifle from the wall, then tossed her a small energy knife. Can you fight? I'm Varnari, she said, catching the weapon. We don't run from steel. As the door to the outer chamber shook, Sira watched Dax take his position beside a damaged console. She couldn't stop staring at him. A real human. A species her people had only studied in ancient history files. Humans were known for their violence, but also their unbreakable spirit. You were supposed to be extinct, she said softly. We tried, he replied. The door exploded inward. 2 spider-like drones crawled in, scanning the room with red sensors. Their legs were sharp, their bodies made of black plates. Dax fired first. His bullet pierced the first drone's eye. The second rushed at him, but Sira jumped in, slicing at its legs with her blade. Sparks flew. The fight ended in seconds, but the silence that followed felt like a warning. That was the scout wave, Dax muttered, the real trouble's behind it. They retreated back into the core room. Dax began pressing buttons on an old panel. Sira leaned over his shoulder. What are you doing? Activating the collapse sequence. If we're going to die in here, I'm not leaving tech behind. Sira's eyes widened. You'd destroy your own base? I'd rather do that than let them get it. Sira grabbed his wrist. Wait. There's something you don't know. What? Your base is sitting on top of an ancient Varnari data cache. Dax frowned. What? She nodded. My team was looking for it before the storm hit. We thought it was long lost. But your people built over it. So this isn't just a shelter, he said slowly. It's a vault. Yes, with records. That could change everything. Dax stepped back. The weight of her words sunk in. If the Varnari cache was real, and if the humans had built above it, then this place was more than just an old hideout. It was a collision of history. All right, he said, we don't blow it, but we have to move fast. Where? She asked. Deeper. There's an old shaft under the floor. I sealed it years ago. But if we can reach the lower level, maybe we can get to the cache and avoid the next wave. They worked quickly, unlocking the old shaft and lowering themselves down with ropes. The lower chamber was cold and silent. Ancient symbols lined the walls, Varnari, older than even Sira had seen. But something else was there too. A pod. Long. Sealed. Marked with both human and Varnari warnings. What is this? Dax asked. Sira stepped closer. This isn't a cache. This is a tomb. They looked at each other. Then the pod hissed and began to open. The pod hissed louder. Sira stepped back, her knife ready. Dax stood beside her, gun aimed. A faint mist leaked from the edges of the ancient seal, glowing with blue lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. Then, it opened. The glass cover slid away, slowly, revealing a figure inside. It was humanoid, tall, slender, wrapped in strange black armor. Its face was covered with a mask, but its chest rose and fell. It was alive. Is that a Varnari? Dax asked. No, Sira whispered. It's older. The figure slowly sat up. Its voice was soft but echoed through the chamber. How long have I slept? Neither of them answered. The figure turned its head, locking eyes on Dax first. A human. Then it turned to Sira. And a Varnari. It stepped out of the pod. The war. It ended, didn't it? Dax lowered his gun. Just slightly. Who are you? The figure placed a hand on its chest. I was called Nihal. I was once a protector of the old codes, a guardian of unity between human and alien worlds. Sira looked confused. But that alliance fell apart centuries ago. Nihal nodded. Yes. Betrayal. Lies. I was sealed away before the truth could be spoken. What truth? Dax asked. Nihal's voice turned cold. That your war was never between humans and aliens. It was started by something else. Something that wanted both of you dead. The room went quiet. Suddenly, an explosion shook the ground above them. Dust fell from the ceiling. The echo of mechanical footsteps returned. Drones, Dax muttered. They've breached the top level. Sira turned to Nihal. Can you fight? The ancient warrior smiled beneath his mask. That's what I was made for. The three moved fast, through narrow tunnels filled with forgotten tech and half-buried symbols. Dax led the way, guiding them toward the old emergency lift. If we can reach the outer wall, there's a side exit that leads to the canyon. We can lose them in the rocks. We're not just running, Nihal said. We need to destroy this tomb. The enemy must not find what lies here. I thought you were the dangerous secret, Sira said. Nihal stopped walking. No, I was guarding it. He turned toward a large door marked with both human and Varnari seals. He placed his hand on it. It opened slowly, revealing a crystal chamber pulsing with light. Inside the chamber sat a sphere, hovering in the air, humming softly. Sira stepped closer. Is that a weapon? Nihal shook his head. It's a recorder, a living memory, proof that the war was engineered. Dax stared at it. If this gets out, it could unite the galaxy or destroy it, Nihal finished. They didn't have time to decide. A loud crash echoed from behind. Drones, dozens of them. Go, Nihal shouted. Take the memory, I'll hold them. You'll die, Sira shouted. He turned his masked face to her. I already did. A long time ago, Dax grabbed the sphere, tucked it in his pack, and pulled Sira toward the escape tunnel. Behind them, Nihal's armor lit up. He stood tall in front of the advancing drones, like a soldier born again. The tunnel exploded behind them as they escaped. Into the canyon. The light from the blast lit up the sky. They crawled into a rocky outcrop hidden beneath the sharp cliffs. Sira gasped for breath. He stayed behind. He gave us a chance, Dax said, his voice rough. Now we need to make it count. Sira looked at the sphere in his hands. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. This can't fall into the wrong hands, Dax nodded. Then let's find the right ones. The wind in the canyon had calmed, but tension filled the air. Sira sat beside the campfire, holding the strange glowing sphere in her hands. Its surface was warm, almost like skin. Every few seconds, it pulsed with a soft hum like it was breathing. Across from her, Dax cleaned his rifle in silence. His face was hard, but his eyes kept drifting toward the sphere. Do you really think it holds the truth? She asked. Only one way to find out, Dax replied. She hesitated, then placed her palm on the sphere. The glow expanded, engulfing the space around them. The campfire vanished. The canyon faded. They were somewhere else now. They stood in the middle of a vast room, surrounded by floating images. Cities burning, ships falling from the sky, humans and aliens side by side, fighting against something dark, something unseen. Then came the voice. Not male or female, not human or alien, just ancient. This is a memory of the first collapse, a war not between species, but against manipulation. Sira looked around, stunned. These aren't fake. This is real history. More than that, Dax said quietly. It's proof. They saw flashes of powerful beings, shadow-like creatures without form, whispering in the ears of leaders. They turned allies into enemies, peace into war. They called themselves the architects, the voice continued. They lived in the spaces between stars, feeding on fear, feeding on hate. They made us fight each other, Sira whispered. And we believed it, Dax added. We destroyed each other because of them. The images faded. They were back at the campfire. The sphere was quiet again. Dax stood up and paced. If this gets out, everything changes. The Varnari government. What's left of human colonies. Even the Jiraki warlords. Sira nodded slowly. They'll all want to bury it, kill anyone who knows. She looked at him. What are we going to do, Dax? He looked out into the desert, where the sky turned orange. We take it to the resistance. The resistance? Sira asked. Not official, not large. Just people like me. People who still believe truth matters. They packed up and moved out before sunrise. The desert was quiet, but the silence felt heavy now. They knew they were carrying more than a secret. They were carrying a weapon of truth. For days they traveled through rocky terrain, hiding from drones, scavenging supplies from abandoned outposts, and slowly, Sira saw something change in Dax. He began to trust her. He spoke more. He even smiled once, just a little. One night, as they camped beneath a broken satellite tower, Sira asked, "Why didn't you tell me you were part of the last human strike force?" Dax looked up. You saw that in the memory? She nodded. I recognized you in the old battle footage. You were important. He didn't answer at first. Then finally he said, We were sent to end the war, but we were tricked. We thought, the Varnari betrayed us. We attacked first. I saw my friends die for a lie. Sira placed a hand on his. And now you fight for the truth. He looked at her, eyes tired but steady. And you? I thought I was just a scientist, she said. But maybe I was supposed to find you. They shared a quiet moment. Not as soldier and alien, but as survivors, as witnesses. Suddenly, the sphere pulsed again. But this time, the voice was different. Familiar. It was Nihal's voice. If you're hearing this, I didn't survive. But you must. The enemy is watching already. They will come for the memory. Run. Hide. But never let it be erased. Dax gripped the sphere tighter. We won't let it end here. The desert was no longer quiet. Dax knew the sound well. Low thuds in the distance like thunder. But there were no clouds in the sky. That's not a storm, he said, eyes narrowing. That's a tracker drone. Heavy model. Military grade. Sira's. Face went pale. It's hunting us, Dax nodded. Or the memory core you carry. She pulled the glowing sphere from her bag. The pulse had grown brighter over the last day, and now it buzzed softly, almost like it was calling out. It's sending a signal, she realized. That's how they found us, Dax said sharply. It's a beacon. We have to shut it off. Dax shook his head. We do that, we lose everything, no proof, no record, we need to get it to the resistance. Then we move now. They moved fast across the rocky dunes, climbing through jagged cliffs and dry canyons. Dax led the way, always scanning the horizon. Sira followed close, her feet blistered, her body tired, but she didn't complain. She knew what was at stake now. Behind them, the sound grew louder. Then, they saw it. A massive black drone with spinning arms like a metal spider with wings. It hovered above the canyon, scanning the sand with a red light. We need cover, Dax said. They ducked into a narrow tunnel between the rocks, hearts racing. If it sees us, Sira whispered, it won't stop. Then we don't let it. As the drone passed overhead, Dax pulled out a small EMP dart from his pack. One shot. That's all I've got. He waited for the drone to slow, aimed, and fired. The dart struck the drone's lower hull. A spark, then a flash. The drone wobbled, lights flickering, then crashed into the canyon wall. Sira exhaled. That was close. Too close, Dax replied. There will be more. That one was just a scout. They pressed forward. By nightfall, they reached the old smuggler's route, an underground tunnel system used during the early days of the Varnari human wars. Dax opened a hatch in the sand and led Sira down into the darkness. The tunnels were cold and quiet, too quiet. They walked for an hour before Sira stopped. Dax, he turned. She pointed to the wall. Scratches, fresh ones, and not from tools, from claws. Something's down here, she said, or waiting for us. Suddenly, lights flickered behind them. A shape moved fast. They turned as a tall, armored figure stepped from the shadows. Not a drone, not a human, not Varnari. Something else. Run, Dax growled, but Sira stood frozen. I know that armor, she said slowly. That's architect tech. Dax's blood turned cold. That's impossible. They're gone. The figure stepped closer. Its face was hidden behind a black mask, but its voice was clear. You should not have opened the memory. It raised its hand. Energy crackled between its fingers. Dax shoved Sira to the side as a blast hit the ground beside them, exploding in white fire. Go, he shouted. They ran through the tunnel, barely dodging the blasts behind them. The enemy didn't chase fast. It didn't need to. It was watching, waiting. They reached the end of the tunnel and burst into open air. Dax sealed the hatch behind them. Sira fell to her knees, shaking. That wasn't a drone, that was something wrong. It's an architect weapon, Dax said. Living tech. We woke it when we activated the sphere. Sira looked at the glowing orb in her hands. So now what? Dax looked across the horizon. Now we finish this. We reach the resistance base in the southern wastes. And if it follows? Then we bring the truth. With a fight. The southern wastes stretched for miles, dry, dead land where only bones and metal remained. But beneath one cracked hill, hidden from satellites and drones, was something no outsider had seen in decades, the last human stronghold. Sira followed. Dax through the narrow cave mouth, heart pounding. Two armed guards stepped forward, weapons raised. They weren't like Dax. These humans looked colder, stricter. Their eyes scanned her blue skin with suspicion. She's with me, Dax said. She saved my life. The guards looked at each other, then stepped aside. The doors slid open, revealing a dark corridor lit by old emergency lights. They were in. Inside the base, it felt like time had stopped. Rust lined the walls. Generators hummed, children peeked from behind steel doors. Scientists argued over flickering screens. And in the middle of it all stood Commander Ryler, a tall, scarred man with one cybernetic arm and a face like stone. You're supposed to be dead, Hale, Ryler said. Got busy staying alive, Dax replied. And I brought something. He handed over the memory sphere. Ryler's eyes widened as it began to glow. Is that what I think it is? It's proof, Dax said. Of who really started the war? They moved to the war room. Maps filled the screens. Satellite feeds played in grainy loops. Ryler placed the sphere on a scanner. It pulsed, and the room went still. The holograms rose around them. Memories. From the past. Images of the architects, the whispering invaders, the lies that turned humans and Varnari against each other. The soldiers around the room stared in shock. This changes everything, one whispered. No, Ryler said slowly. This endangers everything. All eyes turned to him. If this truth spreads, he continued, there will be chaos. No one will know who to trust. And we'll lose what little control we have left. So what? Dax snapped. We just bury it again? Ryler looked at Sira. You're Varnari. What would your leaders do with this? Sira stepped forward, her voice clear. They'd silence it. Kill us. Rewrite it. Exactly, Ryler said. Truth is dangerous. And right now, survival matters more. Dax's fists clenched. This is survival. It's the only way to stop the real enemy. Ryler leaned forward. No, the enemy is hope, because it makes good men take stupid risks. The room fell silent. Then, alarms rang. Perimeter breach, a voice shouted. Sira turned to Dax. It followed us. Outside, dust clouds rose as a black ship descended from the sky. It had no markings, no flags, just death. The architect hunter had arrived. Its armor absorbed the sunlight. Its face was still hidden behind the black mask. But this time, it brought an army. Drones poured from the ship like insects. The base erupted in chaos. Lights flickered. Guns fired. Dax ran to the command platform. "Ryler, we need to evacuate." "This base doesn't run," Ryler growled. "It fights. Then give us a chance to finish what we started." Sira held the sphere tightly as Dax pulled her toward the back tunnels. "There's a comm station. If we can reach it, we can broadcast the memory before it's too late." "Even if it kills us?" she asked. He looked at her. "Truth is worth it." In the tunnels, fire lit the air, screams echoed. Drones crawled through the vents, hunting anything that moved. Sira and Dax fought side by side, her blade slicing, his gun firing, and still, the sphere glowed, calling to the galaxy. They reached the comm tower. Wires sparked, screens flickered. Dax slammed the control panel. "Ready?" Sira nodded and placed the sphere in the center node. "Memory upload in progress." Outside, the architect hunter stepped into the base. Ryler faced it with full armor, and no fear. "You don't belong here," he said. The hunter raised its hand and fired. Back in the tower, Dax screamed as the console lit up. "Almost there." 10%, 40%, 70%. The door exploded open. The architect was there. Dax stood in front of Sira. "You'll have to go through me." The hunter raised its weapon, but the sphere reached 100%. A wave of light shot outward. The hunter froze. Its armor cracked, and it vanished. The tower shook. Dust rained down, but the signal had gone out. Across the galaxy, people began to watch, to remember, to question. Silence spread across the galaxy like a storm after the lightning. The broadcast had gone out, from dying satellites, forgotten outposts, rebel ships, royal palaces. Every screen now showed the same thing. The truth. Ancient memory logs. The voice of Nihal. The vision of the architects, the hidden manipulators behind the human Varnari war. And two strangers, one human, one alien, fighting together to reveal it. Across the stars, billions watched in disbelief. Some wept, some screamed, some reached for weapons. In the wreckage of the human stronghold, Sira helped Dax to his feet. Dust filled the air. The walls were cracked. Fires burned in distant halls, but the broadcast console still glowed. "We did it," she whispered. "Yeah," Dax coughed. "Now comes the hard part." They stepped out into the light. Around them, surviving resistance fighters stood, stunned. Many had watched the memory. A few looked angry. A few looked relieved. But none looked the same. Commander Ryler was gone, sacrificed in the attack. His final act was to hold the line. "They'll come for us now," one soldier said. "Let them," Dax replied. "We're not hiding anymore." On Varnari Prime, the royal chamber was in chaos. The council screamed at one another as the memory played. "This is heresy. It's not real. It's proof. We were lied to." One of the generals slammed his fist down. "Find the girl. Find the human. Kill them both." But it was too late. The truth had already done its work. On distant worlds, old enemies began speaking again. On neutral moons, protest banners rose. In deep space, ships switched off weapons and blinked. Peace signals. A ripple of change was spreading, and in the middle of it all, a human and an alien stood side by side. Sira sat near a cliffside, watching the stars blink in the night. Dax sat beside her, his shoulder wrapped in bandages. "We broke the galaxy," she said. "No," he said. "We gave it a chance to rebuild." Looked at him. "What now?" He leaned back, staring at the sky. "Now we survive. We spread the truth. We find others who still believe." She smiled. And if no one believes? He smiled back. Then we fight until they do. Far away, in the cold corners of space, a dark signal pulsed in silence. The architects weren't gone. They had watched the broadcast too, and now they were awake.